Hi folks, welcome to the Restoration Couple. We are back with Speedy again for this month's hire episode. We needed to hire out a mini digger. We've got lots of jobs here around the barn which need a little bit more than a shovel and a wheelbarrow. So in today's sponsored video by Speedy, we hired out this 1.5 ton JCB mini digger. There's a whole range of stuff we need to use this for, so let's make a start and get stuck in. Now you may remember a few weeks back we showed in a video how we made a start on this gateway. Gateways on the farm are where it all goes wrong. It gets muddy, vehicles get stuck, sheep get foot problems, it's all bad news. So we want to sort out all the gateways, and part of our countryside stewardship, we need to clear it out, dig down, get a membrane in and backfill with a decent amount of kind of type 1 hardcore, tidy everything up, and it just makes things simpler and nicer for everyone involved. So here you can see I'm just scraping off about 200ml to 150ml of all the topsoil. That is a mixture of topsoil and old gravel that's been put there, some of which is gone over into the pigs bit so they can sort through it and that will spread it out. Other bits which were pretty nice soil I've put to one side. I will be taking that up to the veg patch and that can just go down as a thin layer over the whole area. And the rest of it, well, if it's just rubbly, rocky stuff, then it will be used as backfill elsewhere. Right, I'm back on the big boys' toys today. Well, I say today I've got an hour left today and then I'll be finishing off tomorrow. All this stuff I'm going to come back to. Just changed the bucket out on the digger, which means if I did my calculations correct, this trench down here where we're fitting our new drain, I can just go along there and carefully, I don't want to go too deep, but carefully just chip all that out. It's all broken out already, so it should be a case of just scooping it out. He says, like he's done it before. I'll come here, I'll dig away from that drain to this corner, and then we'll work that way. No, you're not coming in here. A heated cab, we haven't had this luxury before. And we're off. Now we haven't got a deadline for the digger. In the past when I've hired one, I've had it for a weekend and I've worked every hour of the day to get it, made the most of it. Fortunately we're going to have this for about a week or so. As you may be able to tell, I am not a trained operator, and apologies to anyone who is. I would suggest though that if you're hiring anything out like this and you've got a big project ahead of you, have a look into some of the courses. There are some that I definitely need to get booked in on, because you can set yourself a day or so to go away, familiarise yourself with kit, whether it's plant, whether it's scaffold towers, whether it's general health and safety. All of these things around self-build and general construction is good, even if it's just a bare minimal introduction course. Get yourself on one and then you might feel a little bit more confident about what you're doing. Well, it's raining out there, so I better bring you in, but it's nice and warm in here. It doesn't take much resistance. If there's a bit of concrete that I haven't cut out or broken properly and it gets one of these teeth in there, God, it throws the digger around a little bit. So I'm just trying to, it's only really about 150ml that I need to take off because we're just casting a new drain in there. Right, we're back with the digger. We are a few weeks on now, or a few days on, but feels like weeks because it's a little bit of a different outlook, being that it's snowy and icy. Digger's going to go back tomorrow, I think, as are the Milwaukee tools that we've had out. We don't need those for this bit that I'm doing today, but James, our electrician's heading over, and whilst I've got the machine here, it makes sense to do any trenches. Trenches over the lower yard we're going to be doing in months to come. We'll do them in the spring, so we'll run it overground there. And in this sort of no man's land between the barns, it's going to be clipped. It's a proper chunky 3-phase cable. It's going to come along here, clipped to that wall for now. When we decided what we're doing here, this used to be a lot lower, I think, more like a courtyard. So if we try and reinstate that, then the cable we've left several meters of slack, it can go down deep and be trenched all the way. And I need to now dig a trench from here, around whereabouts that clay pipe is, across, and we're going to go through into there. I don't think the ground's frozen, so we should be all right. Well, it's cold, but it's not like rock solid. Now, to be honest, it's been a few years since I've had to use a mini digger, so apologies on the technique. Where am I going with this? Oh, this is much nicer. The stuff we were digging that trench the other side was just clay and it's stuck in the bucket. I think we were aiming for about 600. But I'm going to go deeper than that. We're just going to try and nibble a little bit away from the wall so we're not messing around with shovels tomorrow. Because we'll need to go through the wall below ground, I'm guessing. Pretty sure that's about 800 deep, maybe a metre. Depends what we do when we flatten this off, whether we decide to just grade it afterwards, put down some gravel, or whether we are actually going to sort this out in the future. It's 4 or 5 years before anything's going to happen over here, so that's plenty deep enough. So I've dug my section against the wall, and I'm going to be able to get to about here. Then I guess I'll go up and I'll dig on an angle. There is a better way to do this, I'm sure. Please comment below. Okay, back in the wall. Okay, I'm done down here. Well, I told you I was learning on the job. So we had a decent run coming across here, got to about here, and then our first bit was coming across, and then I've just looked at the plans. It's got to come in just beyond those bolts. So I've loosened up everything here, but I'm just going to have to shovel that out by hand. Before we lose daylight and camera battery because of the cold, we've got another trench to do, which I completely forgot about. Our 3-phase cable's coming in where we've allowed, probably halfway between, well, in this half of this bay. The 3-phase distribution bit will be on the other side of this wall. It can just be left there visible for now. And from that, we're going to be supplying this building, but also one of those phases is going to be supplying the cabin. That cable is going to come along, clip to the wall on the other side, above ground because it's a metre lower that side. But then it needs to go across the slope here. So it's going to need to be 600 down from here, which is going to make a right mess because this is all gravel and stone, and somewhere along around here is a water pipe, and then it's going to come back up over there and go above ground on the posts all the way around to the cabin. Right, action. And we're on a slope on an angle, which is dodgy. Yep, really dodgy. Just going to have to nibble at this. So with the 2 main trenches dug, ready for the electricians, which coincidentally have now been installed, and you can see that in a separate video, I had to focus my attentions on the other side of the barn. Now this is where all those drains in the concrete will eventually lead to, and the most sensible way is to bring it along the front of the barn and tap into a drain which takes all of our surface water away. Now if possible, I was going to try and find where it teed, and I thought at one point that it came out into the field and then went down. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. It goes underneath the wall and the concrete and everywhere you can't get to. But I've now got this trench dug, so it didn't really need to be very deep at all. This is a temporary solution just for a year or two to keep water from gathering up on that concrete yard. So I can install some drainage pipe down here and I'll probably end up going in closer to the bottom of that downpipe, just join in there, and then it can all go away together. Of course, not much is mapped on a farm like this. A lot of this has just been put in here, there and everywhere over the decades, so it's more a case of investigating yourself. Luckily the previous owner lives nearby and I can chat to him and ask him different things, but yeah, this was 50-60 years ago that the clay pipes were installed, so give or take a metre we should be able to find things. Now, like every piece of plant hire or tool that you get out for a weekend or a week, you never quite get it all done. You try your best to make the most of the time slots that you've got. However, there are going to be occasions where we need to get the mini digger back. One of those being all of the overhead high voltage cables. The National Grid have agreed to take down all of the above cables that go over this barn. They're all redundant, they don't go anywhere, and a whole stretch is going to go underneath one of the fields along a boundary. So I need to get that trench dug, and then they'll be coming to install that. I guess we can probably make a video of that. I'll check with them at the time, but there is a good 250 odd meters of trenching to get done, which will take its time, but it's all good practice. A huge thank you again to Speedy Tool Hire for sponsoring this video and being such great supporters of our channel and making it possible to do all the videos we do. More info down in the description on this machine and all the others that you can find at the link. As always, thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.